Feel for philosophy. Feel the thought, think the feeling.
Welcome to our new discussion on environmental ethics. Today, we explore what environmental ethics is, its nature, and its scope. Please stay with us. Presented by Feel for Philosophy.
So let's talk about our relationship with the environment. It's a question that might have sounded, well, kind of philosophical a while back. But now, with everything going on with our climate, it's become one of the most urgent questions we face. Answering it isn't a luxury anymore, it's an absolute necessity. So how did we get to this point, and what are the big ideas that can help us figure out where to go from here? Let's dive into the world of environmental ethics. And really, it all boils down to this one huge question. Are we the rulers of this planet, the masters of the natural world, free to use it however we see fit? Or are we just one small part of a massive family with real responsibilities to everyone else in that family? Seriously, how we answer that question changes absolutely everything. For a long, long time, nobody really asked that question. The industrial world was just full steam ahead, assuming we were in charge. But that whole idea got a massive reality check in the middle of the 20th century. And it all started with a wake-up call from a book that painted this haunting picture of a spring with no birds singing. Okay, so after World War II, it's like humanity just slammed its foot on the gas pedal. Technology, industry, population, everything exploded at this incredible pace. But all that growth, it came at a huge cost to the planet. And then, bam. 2 books came out that sent a total shockwave through society. First up, in 1962, you have Rachel Carson's Silent Spring. It showed how chemicals like DDT were literally poisoning our wildlife, creating that silent spring she warned about. And then, just a few years later, the population bomb came out, sounding the alarm that our own numbers might just overwhelm the entire planet. And listen, this wasn't just some dusty academic argument. The impact was real and it was immediate. Silent Spring created such a massive public outcry that it directly led to a nationwide ban on DDT in the US. I mean, think about that. It was proof, right there, that one powerful idea, one book, could spark a whole movement and create real, lasting change. So what these books really did was push us to expand our moral circle. If you think about it, throughout history, our idea of who counts morally has been slowly getting bigger and bigger, right? It started small, maybe just elite men, then it grew to include women, children, people of all races. So the next big logical question was, should that circle expand even further? Now, the traditional view, the default setting for humanity, has pretty much always been something called anthropocentrism. The idea is really simple. Humans, and only humans, have what's called intrinsic value. That means we matter just for our own sake. Everything else, a forest, a river, an animal, only has instrumental value. They're valuable only as an instrument, as a tool for us. A forest is good because it gives us wood and clean air, not because the forest itself has a right to exist. This whole debate basically splits into 3 main ways of thinking, which you can see laid out here. First, you've got anthropocentrism. That's the human's first view, where our role is pretty much master and owner. But then you have a challenger. Biocentrism. This says, hang on, all living things have intrinsic value, which makes us just one species among millions. And then there's the third one, ecocentrism, which goes even bigger. It says the entire ecosystem, the whole shebang, is what's morally valuable. The best way to think about it is like a football team. What really matters isn't just your star quarterback, it's the health and success of the entire team. And as you can see, our role shifts dramatically from being the owner of the team to just being another player. Now, a really strong version of that human-first thinking got a name from the philosopher Peter Singer. He called it speciesism. And his whole argument was that it's basically a prejudice, a bias, not all that different from other prejudices we're much more familiar with. And this slide really lays out his argument perfectly. Singer drew a direct line, saying that discriminating against another being just because it belongs to a different species, well, it's just as illogical and unfair as discriminating against someone based on their race or gender. The core prejudice, he argued, is exactly the same. The only thing that's different is the group on the receiving end. But what about intelligence, right? Isn't that what makes us special? This is where a really clever thought experiment called the argument from marginal cases comes in, and it's a huge challenge to that idea. So here's how it goes. Step 1. Someone claims that our superior intelligence is what gives us moral superiority over animals. Okay. Step 2. the problem. What do we do about humans who don't have that superior intelligence? We're talking about infants or people with severe cognitive disabilities. Step 3 is the contradiction. We would never say these marginal case humans have fewer moral rights. Of course not. Which leads to the powerful conclusion in step 4. If we don't use intelligence as the yardstick for moral rights among ourselves, then we can't logically use it to deny rights to animals either. And this all points to a truly game-changing idea from the philosopher Jeremy Bentham, way back over 200 years ago. He said, we've been asking all the wrong questions. The real question, the one that truly matters for moral consideration, isn't can they reason or can they talk, but this, can they suffer? That's it, sentience, the capacity to feel pain and pleasure. If a being can suffer, Bentham argued, then its suffering has to matter. That one question, man, it changes the entire conversation. So all these ideas, expanding our moral circle, questioning human superiority, they were all building towards something. They paved the way for one of the most important thinkers in this whole field, Aldo Leopold. This guy was a forester, a scientist, and a philosopher, and he managed to weave all these threads together into this powerful new vision for our place on Earth. Leopold gave us this incredible concept he called the land ethic. Now, for him, the land wasn't just dirt. No, it was a single, huge, interconnected system of life. He called it the biotic community, and it includes everything: the soils, the waters, the plants, the animals. His big argument was that we had to stop seeing land as just a commodity, something to be used up. We needed to start seeing it as a community that we belong to. And belonging comes with some serious responsibilities. And this right here is his most famous, most perspective-shattering quote. The land ethic, he said, changes the role of Homo sapiens from conqueror of the land community to plain member and citizen of it. It basically demotes us. We're no longer the conqueror standing outside and above it all. We are simply plain members and citizens within it. And that simple shift in our role, that implies a massive shift in our responsibilities. Okay, so if we're citizens, not conquerors, how do we know what's right and wrong? Well, Leopold gave us this beautifully simple but incredibly powerful rule to live by. He said, a thing is right when it tends to preserve the integrity, stability, and beauty of the biotic community. It is wrong when it tends otherwise. See how the focus just completely shifts? It's not about what's good for me or what's good for humans. The ultimate test of any action is its effect on the health of the entire system. All right, so this all sounds amazing in a philosophy book, right? But does it actually change anything in the real world? Do these big ethical ideas ever show up in, say, our laws and policies? Well, let's take a look at how this theory gets put into practice. And you don't have to look far. Just take environmental law in India as a perfect example. These core principles are built directly on this kind of ethical thinking. Sustainable development, that's basically an ethical promise to future generations. The polluter pays principle. That's just straight up moral and financial accountability. And the precautionary principle, that's an ethic of care. It says we have to act to prevent harm even if we don't have 100% scientific proof yet. These aren't just dry legal terms. They are ethics written into law. So here we are. We've gone from the wake-up call of Silent Spring all the way through these dense philosophical arguments and landed in the very real world of law and policy. We've seen the whole debate shift from, are we the kings of the earth, to, okay, if we're citizens, what kind of citizens should we be? And what this whole journey shows us, I think, is that environmental ethics is not some abstract academic luxury. Not at all. It is an absolutely essential guide for our survival. It's more than just a list of rules. It's a completely new lens for seeing our place in the world, and a new compass to guide us forward. And that brings it all right back to us, to you. If we take Leopold seriously, if our main duty is to the health of this whole biotic community, what does that actually mean for our daily lives? What's the real moral significance of what we choose to eat, the stuff we buy, how we travel? When you use that as your measuring stick, what parts of our own lives might need to change?
Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support encourages me to create more content. Thank you.